Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to welcome each and every one of you to this special occasion, including our chairman, Dr. Naseem, on the Human Rights Day conducted by BNM. Your presence here is a testament to the shared commitments toward the human rights. Today, we are here to celebrate the equality, justice, and dignity for all. Thank you for coming. Once again, welcome and thank you for coming on this meaningful event. Now, let's collectively up together and have a 2 minute silence for those affected by the Pakistan affected some of the rights, almost every rights of Baloch people. Let's have a moment of silence for them. मना को बलोच कौमा दस्तबंदी दीवाना दस्तबंदी से 2 मिनट बोलता और खामोश के इख्तियार देखना पा हमा बलोचन वास्ता कि पाकिस्तान जोर मनी आमा चा शुमेबाज बात में नतवाई Balochistan faces grave human rights concerns by Pakistan with the reports of disappearing thousands of Baloch and their unfair treatments. Alleging Pakistan's involvement, definitely, it's Pakistan. Urgent action is needed to ensure transparency, accountability, and the safeguard of every Baloch well-being who resides in Balochistan, who lives in Balochistan. We need to make sure, and we have to raise our voices. So every brother and every sister, our fathers, our mothers, everybody lives a good life in Balochistan. Because their life in Balochistan is terrible. We are living an amazing life. But if we think about them, they're living the worst life possible they can ever live. So now I would kindly request that we'll have some documentaries on this projector, and we'll also be showing some of the reports and the situations of Baloch people in Balochistan. So please have a look at it, and I would like one of my colleagues to please come and play it for me. Thank you.
Welcome to a journey through the heart of Balochistan, a region marked by its rich history, diverse geography, and resilient people engaged in a relentless struggle for justice, autonomy, and freedom. Over the past 2 decades, the region of Balochistan has been witnessing its 5th episode of a determined struggle for independence. This current phase stands as the largest, most intense, and uniquely distinct from its predecessors in nature. Unlike earlier episodes, which primarily consisted of guerrilla warfare within the mountainous terrain, the ongoing movement has expanded its scope to encompass diverse aspects of Baloch society and geography. It now involves active participation, not only in rural areas, but also in urban settings, incorporating surface politics, media, and a notable role played by women. However, it is important to recognize that this contemporary movement is rooted in the historical continuum of Balochistan's quest for sovereignty. a struggle initiated soon after Balochistan's sovereignty was infringed upon on March 27, 1948. On this unfortunate day, Balochistan was annexed militarily by the neonate Pakistani state, marking the beginning of a long and tumultuous journey.
बलूचिस्तान पर पाकिस्तान ने 48 में जबरन कब्जा कर लिया 27 मार्च को.
Situated at the eastern extremity of the Iranian plateau, is presently divided nearly equally between Pakistan's Balochistan province and Iran's Sistan Baluchistan province.
सबसे बड़ी जरूरत यह है कि पाकिस्तान की कब्जे और उसकी गुलामी से बलोच कौम को निजात दिलाई जाए.
Pakistani occupation of Balochistan. The tumultuous relationship between Balochistan and the Pakistani state has its roots in the very formation of Pakistan in 1947. 3 months before Pakistan's establishment, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, often referred to as the founder of Pakistan, engaged in negotiations for the freedom of Balochistan from British rule by acting as a hired lawyer for the Khan of Kalat, the ruler of Balochistan. The discussions around Balochistan's relationship with Pakistan became a critical issue. This led to a series of meetings involving the Viceroy, Jinnah, and the Khan of Kalat. Initially, a communique dated August 11, 1947, recognized Kalat as an independent sovereign state with distinct treaty relations with the British government. The current struggle for self-determination in Balochistan has gained momentum in recent years, fueled by a deep-rooted desire for autonomy, justice, and the recognition of the Baloch people's rights. This ongoing movement reflects the resilience and determination of the Baloch people to secure a better future for themselves and their land. The situation in Balochistan is marked by severe human rights violations that demand the attention of the international community. The systematic abuses and disregard for human rights have not only caused immense suffering for the Baloch people, but have also raised alarms about the need for urgent intervention to address these issues. Abduction, enforced disappearances, and killings. One of the most alarming aspects of the situation in Balochistan is the alarming frequency of abductions and enforced disappearances. Baloch activists, intellectuals, students, lawyers, journalists, and other individuals have been subjected to these horrific practices, often carried out by Pakistani security forces. These individuals are often taken without due process, held incommunicado, and subjected to torture. Tragically, many of the victims who have been forcibly disappeared are later found dead, their bodies bearing signs of torture. The brutal kill and dump policy has left families shattered and communities traumatized, creating an atmosphere of fear and silence. Fake encounters. It is an alarming and recurrent practice of the military to stage fake encounters, disguising the killings of victims of enforced disappearances as casualties in battle, with hundreds of such cases reported to date. Recently, a fake encounter was conducted by the CCD in Balochistan. 4 previously abducted Baloch youth, including Baloch Mola Baksha, were reportedly killed by Pakistani forces. This disturbing trend of extrajudicial actions must be condemned. Human rights organizations working in Balochistan reported the enforced disappearance of Mola Baksha on October 29, 2023. He was abducted from his home by Pakistani forces in Turbat. The human rights organization PAYAK reported the enforced disappearance of Nabi Baksh Baloch and Adil Asa, victims of the Balgatar incident, on August 2023. They were reportedly abducted by Pakistani forces on August 22, 2023, in Turbat City. On November 19, 2023, Pakistani forces perpetrated a tragic incident, killing 3 individuals, Adil, Shah Jahan, and Navidan, by planting explosives in a vehicle and staging it as a terrorist act. These individuals had been forcibly disappeared while in the custody of the Pakistani army. Furthermore, Shoka, Zahir, Pirjan, and Ahmed Khan remain held by the Pakistan Army. As of now, a significant development is the ongoing long march against fake encounters in Makran. Families of the victims have embarked on a journey toward the capital, Quetta, in protest against these heinous acts. This courageous march is taking place even as we communicate.
Okay, so unfortunately, this is the situation of Balochistan. And it's all because of Pakistan. The brutal army is killing everyone. And I don't know who is going to be next. We never know who is next. It can be me, it can be you, it can be any one of us. So, after this heart-wrenching video, as you have seen it, and you already know it, most probably, I would like to call my co-host, Mr. Hakim, to take over the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alia. And thank you everyone for being so patient and watching that heart-wrenching video that was actually wasn't sequenced and seen from a Hollywood or actual real people who were picked up, abducted, tortured, killed, and now there's a trend, as we all know, of the fake encounters. So to continue with our program, now I will be calling on stage our distinguished guest for today. So first of all, I would go from. Sorry, I just have to go through that. Sorry about that. So yeah, so obviously we have the speakers. We have our friends from different communities, those who come to show solidarity and to speak for the day. So first of all, I would like on stage Miss Francisca Marino. She is an Italian journalist. She has been working on the issue of Balochistan. She is an author. She has written a book on Balochistan, and she has been a very vocal voice and a friend of Balochistan. So please give a round of applause. So next, I would like to call on stage another critical voice, columnist and author, and a very great friend of Baloch cause, Miss Aisha Siddiqa, who has been a really friendly voice for us, and she's here. And please give a round of applause for her. Now, I would like to call our uh, speaker, our actually the president of the seminar and the president of the Baloch National Movement, Dr. Naseem Baloch, who himself is a tortured. Thank you very much. Now, to begin with our speeches, we were actually expecting a friend from the Pashtun Tahfuz movement to be here today, but unfortunately, they are not here. They haven't made it yet. So we'll begin with our first speaker. And before I go ahead and call our first speaker, I would like to shed a light on the day which we are celebrating here, the International Day on Human Rights, which has itself a significant meaning. Human rights, the rights of humans, of every individual, of every society, of every nation, of every country. Just like every other nation, Baloch has the right to live with peace, to live with dignity, to live with freedom. Unfortunately, 75 years ago, roughly, it is the same time when, obviously, the world, after the Second World War, the Western world, the civilized world, they've thought, now we need laws. Now we need laws in place that no country should be allowed to attack another country. No nation should be kept on slavery. And they formed laws in place, such as human rights laws, the practices that would help the communities to thrive and to have their basic human rights. But what we see after 70 years that those laws are still being violated. We have Balochistan, a great example where every day the basic right of living are being taken away, are being snatched from the people. So to begin with, I would like to call a great speaker, a young speaker. She is a very vocal Baloch voice in diaspora, I would say. She has been talking in many seminars. She is the vice president of Baloch National Movement, Germany's own. I would like Banok Samul Baloch to come on stage and please shed a light on the day. Please, Banok Samul Baloch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. As Samuel Malut from BNM Vice President, as from Germany Zone, I have talked about this issue a lot and many times. Few of you always maybe have heard of my speeches, but today again, we are here not to celebrate actually, but to talk about the human rights violation happening in Balochistan as today's Human Rights Day. So, of course, when we talk about Balochistan, and today when we gather to shed light to pressing issues that demands our attention, is one of them is the right to live, the right to life. Everyone in this world who is a living being deserves to live, not because their ethnicities, their skin color, their languages, their culture, their history. It all enriches us, but that doesn't decide if we can live or not. But unfortunately, Balochs have always been targeted because of their name, their culture, their history. And we are still being targeted. All of us are living here in exile. Maybe a few of us think it's the luxury to live here, but for us, Baloch, it's a luxury to live overall, to live wherever we are. Because there is a powerful nation who is trying their best, trust me, the best, just to get rid of our existence. And that shows by all these pictures, all these videos. I don't know, I can't even see these pictures anymore. Because of these, I can't even look at movies that shows these graphics. And it does not mean that I'm weak. It means that my mental health has been affected by these pictures so many times that I imagine my brother, my father being dead like that, my uncles, the male figures in my life being drenched in blood, found somewhere. I can't imagine that. And I'm quite sure no one has to, no one should. When we talk about all these young men, we as humans tend to forget when we talk about humans in numbers 61, 100, 2,000, 700, maybe 20,000. When we talk about in numbers, we forget that these numbers are not only numbers, these are human beings with dreams, with lives, with responsibilities, with loved ones who once shared their lives with so many people. Can we see all these people are very young? They had goals. They probably one of them wanted to be a poet, to write poetries for their loved ones. Maybe one of them wanted to be a doctor, to heal other people. One of them wanted to be an engineer, to build. But where are they? It's so disappointing when we talk about this. Recently, when we, as Baloch, I always try to remember and make progress. When we talk about human rights, we should not always talk about Baloch human rights or the human rights that concern us, but universally, globally, everywhere. The oppressor may be different. Their ethics, their techniques are always the same. When we come together in solidarity with the other countries, with the other nations specifically, we become stronger. Specifically, right now in current world, a lot of people are talking about Palestine. And I think it's a concerning issue. People are being murdered, people are being killed. But when we talk about Balochistan and we share this pain with them, the oppressor get really, really afraid and they forget. For example, Pakistan is right now talking about this, about Palestine, that they have never killed people. When Pakistan itself is killing people and is continuing to do so. In the pursuit of control, the Pakistani authorities have engaged in actions that blatantly disregards the basic principle of human rights. Baloch people are experiencing arbitrary arrests, enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings. Families are torn apart, uncertain about the fate of their loved ones, as the international community watches in silence. The right to life extends beyond mere existence. They should not only just exist, they should live. Live a life that their legacy can be remembered later on. We should say, oh, one of them lived, and I want to live like them, not just exist. It encompasses the right to live free from fear. I should not feel when my kids are playing outside that they might be bombed by just to check if their bombs work. Oppression. I should not be scared to go to university because of my surname. That I would be interviewed how to load a gun, not how to multiply or speak in English. And violence, that all of my women, when they send their young children outside to study, they would be scared as hell that maybe my son will not return, just like Baloch. The Baloch population, however, we are very resilient. I'm proud to say that we're still fighting. We have not given up. Even though their basic human rights are denied, but their voices are also silenced. Their pleas for justice fall over deaf, but we are not silent. We're still talking, and we shall talk. We shall shout as loud as we can. Maybe we lose our voice, but maybe someone will hear us. It is crucial for the international community to stand for solidarity with Baloch people. Same goes to Baloch people too. We have to stand solidarity with the other nations like Kurd, like Pashtun, like so many other nations that are being oppressed by so many other oppressors. We oppressed recognize the other oppressed. We see who is being oppressed. We see who is the oppressor. May the name of the oppressor change, but the techniques are always similar. They target your roots, your beliefs, your customs, your culture, your language. We must raise our voice collectively, demanding accountability for the perpetrators of these heinous acts, ensuring that the right to life is upheld for every individual, regardless of their ethnic or cultural background, their language, their skin color. Are we still talking about this in 2023 when we talk about human rights as for United Nations that kids they just play it and we just watch in silence and don't see the show, see the drama? In the face of adversity, let us remember that the principle of justice, freedom, and human rights are universal. As we all advocate for the rights of Baloch people, we uphold the very essence of shared humanity. As this diverse jury sits here to talk about it, it shows that this issue is universal. As we hold and advocate for the rights of Baloch people, we uphold the very sense of shared humanity, a commitment to a world where individual can live with dignity, security, and all the assurance that the right to life will be safeguarded. Thank you so much.
As Kamal says, we sit here and talk and hope that the right to life will be safeguarded. Of course, human right is for all and must be for all, and it shouldn't be decided by the culture, by the race, or by the nation, who may have the right to live with dignity and peace, and all the others have no right to live at all. To continue with our speakers for the day. We have a speaker from Pakistan itself. We have a great voice from there who has been a supportive voice for the Baloch missing persons. She has actually been working on the cases of Baloch missing persons. She has been representing them there. Uh, Iman Mazari, who is an human rights activist and a senior lawyer, one who has been obviously actively working on the cases of Baloch students who have been picked up from their university campus and by the Pakistani forces. So we have a video speech of her, and I want ask my friend Niaz to please come and play that speech. Thank you.
There is continuing impunity for the practice of enforced disappearances, primarily because of the lack of political will to end impunity for the practice, coupled together with increasing civil-military imbalance. I want to highlight two cases very briefly that give an overview of the nature and scale of the issue and the role of the courts, as well as the apathy of the executive in dealing with these cases. First, the case of Rashid Hussain, a Baloch activist who was forcibly disappeared and held in incommunicado detention from within the UAE, and subsequently official documents from the UAE disclosed that Rashid Hussain was extradited to Pakistan on 22nd June 2019. Now, the writ petition seeking information from the Foreign Ministry and the Ministry of Interior as to his place of detention and his fate in itself has been pending in the Islamabad High Court since 2022. This petition was filed after the family had filed several other different petitions before the Balochistan High Court and the Sindh High Court. And I just want to emphasize that the hearing for this case was fixed on the 5th of December, and then the night before the case in which the Attorney General had been summoned, the case was delisted mysteriously. So despite the fact that Rashid's mother has approached the Commission of Inquiry on Enforced Disappearances and 3 constitutional courts, she's still waiting for answers 5 years later as the Pakistani authorities deny that Rashid is in their custody. The second case that I want to highlight is a case where dozens of forcibly disappeared Baloch students' cases were brought before the Islamabad High Court. It's one of the model cases in terms of the role that constitutional courts can play in attempting to end impunity for the practice. The case begins in 2022 when an MPhil physics student at Quaid-e-Azam University in the federal capital is forcibly disappeared from his hometown in Khuzdar from a classroom full of students in broad daylight. Hafiz Baloch was his name, and he remained in incommunicado detention for around 30 days or so. And because of the pressure that resulted from a 30-day sit-in camp organized by the Baloch Students' Council in Islamabad, in the heart of the federal capital outside the National Press Club, Hafiz was eventually brought to the surface as a result of that pressure, but he was falsely implicated in a terrorism case in which he faced trial and was subsequently acquitted. The question, because here the acquittal is besides the point, the question is how any trial court can carry out such a trial in the first place in the face of insurmountable evidence that the person in question had been subjected to an enforced disappearance, and that this is just an attempt to legalize that illegal detention. Now, during pendency of these writ petitions before the Islamabad High Court, several other Baloch students from various parts of the country were forcibly disappeared, and these cases were being brought to the attention of the court on almost each date of hearing, and this is recorded in the order sheet. So as a result of that, the Islamabad High Court ordered the constitution of an inquiry commission, which submitted its report in court in February 2023, and it's primarily identified state agencies being involved in the practice. The Islamabad High Court has clearly stated on the last date of hearing, which was the 29th of November 2023, that the remaining Baloch students, so there was a list of 69 students who were disappeared in 2022 that was given to this commission, and they've directed that the remainder of the students who are still missing, which by our estimates are around 24 students, they must be recovered by the 10th of January 2024, failing which the court will order registration of an FIR against the Prime Minister, the Interior Minister, and other relevant public functionaries. Now, what's common in most of these cases, if not all cases of enforced disappearances, is the complete apathy of public functionaries. Families are routinely subjected to demeaning and inhumane treatment by the Commission of Inquiry, which has been functioning for over a decade but has yet to identify and refer for prosecution a single perpetrator involved in the practice. So essentially, the Commission of Inquiry on Enforced Disappearances is in itself in large part fueling the culture of impunity. And it's precisely for this reason that we filed several petitions in the Islamabad High Court seeking disbanding of the commission. Unfortunately, this practice is continuing in Balochistan in particular. For every one person that is released, there are around 3 to 4 abducted in his place. It's an unending cycle of trauma and pain for thousands of families across Pakistan who are more often than not left without any effective remedy. Even to get a first information report registered for abduction often requires families to get court orders to go in 22A before the Justice of the Peace or to seek assistance from the Commission on Disappearances. This is despite the fact that Pakistan has yet to criminalize enforced disappearance as a separate autonomous offense under its domestic law. People targeted often are those who are critical of state excesses or are dissidents, academics, construction workers, students, businessmen, journalists, and a range of people from diverse backgrounds have suffered the same fate. This matter requires the urgent attention of the international community, which cannot stand by and watch thousands of helpless people running from protest camps to commissions to police stations and courts with no relief in sight. The onus is also on Pakistan's political parties to unite on this issue and ensure that they bring an end to both the practice and impunity for the same. So I'm going to thank you all for giving me time to speak on this today.
Thank you. This was Iman Mazari, obviously, an advocate who practically fighting for the missing persons in Pakistani court in Islamabad, where she, I believe, has seen various cases where the people, the students, the abductees were people who were abducted, they were students, they were people from different walk of lives. And as she mentioned, if there's one person released, 3 or 4 people are being picked up on their place. So to continue with the injustices going on in Balochistan and to talk on the sufferings and the pains of Baloch people, we also have another video speech from another a distinguished guest who is a senior politician. He has been a very vocal voice for the Baloch and Pashtun cause. He has seen many Baloch prominent leaders in his youth days, and even now he is a really staunch supporter of Baloch people. So the next guest is Afsariya Khatak, who is a senior politician. He is a leader of National Democratic Movement. He has been part of the Communist Party Pakistan. He has been the head of Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. He has served as a senator, and he himself has been part of a commission on the missing person that was created, I believe, a few years ago, in which him and Sardar Akhtar Mangal and other people were part of it. And he has actually visited Balochistan and seen many families of these abducted people. So I would request my friend Niaz to please play the video for us. Thank you.
अजीज दोस्तों साथियों, सबसे पहले मैं आपका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि आपने मुझे मौका दिया है कि इंसानी हकूक के आलमी दिन के मुनासिबत से आपकी खिदमत में कुछ गुज़ारिशात पेश करूँ। सबसे पहले मैं आपका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि आपने मुझे मौका दिया है कि इंसानी हकूक के आलमी दिन के मुनासिबत से आपकी खिदमत में कुछ गुज़ारिशात पेश करूँ। इस दफ़ा का जो हम मना रहे हैं इंसानी हकूक का आलमी दिन, उसकी खसूसियत ये है कि ये 75 साल हो गए हैं जो जब इंसानी हकूक का आफाकी चार्टर जारी हुआ था, यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स जारी हुआ था। तो इसलिए आज ज़रा ज़्यादा इस बात की अहमियत है कि हम जायज़ा लें कि इन 75 सालों में इंसानी हकूक की तहरीक का इर्तिका कैसे हुआ है, वो कहाँ तक पहुंची है और उसको कौन से चैलेंजेस का सामना है। तो मैं आपकी खिदमत में इस बात से शुरू करना चाहूँगा कि पिछली सदी में, 20वीं सदी में जब दो बड़ी आलमी जंगें हुई और खुसूसन यूरोप जंग का मैदान बना, तो बहुत से कौमों को ये एहसास हुआ, मुल्कों को ये एहसास हुआ कि ये जंगें इसलिए हो रही हैं कि इंसानी हकूक लोगों को मैसर नहीं है। इंफरादी तौर पर भी, इज्तिमाई तौर पर भी लोग इंसानी हकूक से महरूम हैं, जिसका नतीजा ये है कि वो जंग और जदाल का रुख करते हैं और बड़ी तबाही आती है, इंसानियत को बड़ी तबाही का सामना करना पड़ता है। और ये दूसरी आलमी जंग तो ऐसी थी जिसमें एटमी हथियारों का भी इस्तेमाल हुआ, वेपन्स ऑफ मास डिस्ट्रक्शन। तो ये तो बड़ी खौफनाक चीजें थी। तो इसलिए इंसानों ने सोचा और उसके बाद यूएन का क़याम अमल में लाया, यूनाइटेड नेशन, अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा का क़याम अमल में लाया। अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा का चार्टर जो था वो एक तरह से पहली दस्तावेज थी जिसके जरिए लोगों ने, कौमों ने एक दूसरे के साथ पुरअमन बकाए बाहमी का रास्ता ढूंढा। और इसमें जैसा कि आपको पता है, कौमों की हक खुद इरादियत और दुनिया में इंसानों के और मुल्कों के जमहूरी हकूक की बात की गई है और एक गवर्नेंस, ऐसी सिस्टम गवर्नेंस जिसमें इंसानों के हकूक का ख्याल रखा जाएगा और इंसानों की मर्जी से, रजा से, शहरियों की रजा से निज़ाम बनेंगे। तो ये चीज़ें उसकी अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा के उसमें आ गई, मंशूर में आ गई। पुरअमन तौर पर मुज़ाकरात से मसाइल हल होंगे, जंग नहीं होगी वगैरह, और मुल्कों की खुद मुख्तारी का एहतराम किया जाएगा वगैरह, ये सारी चीज़ें उसमें आ गई। लेकिन फिर भी ये चार्टर जो था ये एक तरह से इनफरादी तौर पर इंसानों के जो हकूक हैं उसके पूरे, यानी उसके पूरे मुहीत का, उसके पूरे उफ़क़ का इहाता नहीं कर सकता था। तो इसके लिए फिर इंसान बैठ गए, मुख्तलिफ मुल्कों के लोग बैठ गए और उन्होंने मिलकर एक यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स या इंसानी हकूक का आलमी मंशूर या चार्टर उन्होंने बनाया। और ये फिर अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा की जनरल असेंबली में पेश हुआ, फिर मुल्कों ने इसको पास किया, मुल्कों ने इसको मंजूर किया और इस बात को कमिटमेंट किया कि वो अपने अपने मुल्कों में इसके मुताबिक कवानीन बनाएंगे। आईन और कानून जो है वो UDHR की रोशनी में बनेंगे। तो ये एक तरह से बहुत बड़ा आगाज था। उसके बाद फिर और चीजें आई, जैसे 1951 में महाजरों के बारे में एक कन्वेंशन बना, जेनेवा कन्वेंशन जिसे कहते हैं, 1951 का। यूरोप में चूंकि जंग हुई थी, महाजर बहुत थे, तो ये इसको अवलियत दी गई। उसके बाद फिर और चीजें आई, 1960 की दहाई में कन्वेंशंस बने, सिविल राइट्स, इकोनॉमिक राइट्स के और सोशल राइट्स के कन्वेंशंस आए। तो इस तरह से इसमें इजाफा होता गया और फिर बाद में आहिस्ता आहिस्ता टॉर्चर के खिलाफ, अजियत के खिलाफ कवानीन आए, खवातीन के हकूक के लिए कवानीन आए, खवातीन के खिलाफ इम्तियाजी सलूक ख़त्म करने के लिए कवानीन आए, अक़लियतों की हिफाजत के लिए कवानीन आए और जमहूरी आज़ादियों के लिए बहुत तफसील से कवानीन आते गए। इजहार राय की आज़ादी, दूसरी आज़ादियों के लिए जो UDHR में भी थे, लेकिन उसके लिए मज़ीद चीज़ें, कन्वेंशन आए। तो इस तरह से एक आलमी कवानीन बन गए इंसानी हकूक की और इससे उम्मीद पैदा हो गई कि इंसानियत अब जंग के बजाय अमन के ज़रिए یہ انسانی حقوق کے ذریعے کے منشور کو تسلیم کرنے کے ذریعے پرامن زندگی گزارے گی، لیکن بدقسمتی سے ایسا نہیں ہوا، کیونکہ پھر بھی جو عالمی طاقتیں تھیں اور خصوصاً جو سامراجی طاقتیں تھیں ان کے اپنے مفادات تھے، انہوں نے اقوام متحدہ کو بھی ایک طرح سے جمہوری تنظیم نہیں بننے دیا، اور ابھی تک اس میں 5 ملکوں کا ویٹو ہے، جو ایک غیر جمہوری بات ہے۔ اس کے علاوہ وہ جب بھی چاہتے ہیں اپنے لیے ایک طرح سے قانون بھی تبدیل کرا دیتے ہیں، اور ہم نے دیکھا کہ جنگیں بھی ہوئی، اور جیسے آپ نے دیکھا ویتنام کی جنگ بڑی جنگ تھی دوسری جنگ کے بعد، اور جو قومی آزادی بخش تحریکیں تھیں انہوں نے جنگیں لڑی الجزائر میں اور دوسری جگہوں میں، کیوبا نے آزادی حاصل کی اور ملکوں نے آزادی حاصل کی، لیکن اس کے لیے کافی ان کو جدوجہد کرنی پڑی۔ اور اس کے بعد ہم نے دیکھا خصوصاً یہ جو کولڈ وار تھی، کولڈ وار میں ایک طرح سے انسانی حقوق کولڈ وار کا شکار ہوئے، جو 2 بلاک بنے، اس میں خصوصاً جو سامراجی بلاک تھا اس نے انسانی حقوق کو ایک سیاسی ہتھیار کے طور پر استعمال کیا، لیکن اس کا اپنے دوستوں کے ملکوں میں احترام نہیں کیا۔ ان کے دوست امریت، جیسے پاکستان میں فوجی امریت ہمیشہ مغربی ممالک کی حمایت سے اقتدار میں آتی ہے، اور انہوں نے کبھی ان سے نہیں کہا کہ آپ نے کیوں مارشل لا لگایا۔ اسی طرح سے اور ملکوں میں بھی یعنی مارشل لا لگائے گئے، امریتیں آئیں وغیرہ، لیکن جو سب سے بڑا سیٹ بیک انسانی حقوق کے لیے ہوا وہ میں سمجھتا ہوں یہ نام نہاد جو اینٹی ٹیررزم وار ہے، یہ جو دہشت گردی کے خلاف نام نہاد جنگ ہے، اس نے انسانی حقوق کو بڑا نقصان پہنچایا، کیونکہ یہ جو مغربی ریاستیں تھیں انہوں نے بڑے پیمانے پہ ایک طرح سے اپنے قوانین میں تبدیلیاں کی، ترمیم کی۔ ان کی دیکھا دیکھی ظاہر ہے کہ جو 3rd ورلڈ میں ڈکٹیٹر بیٹھے ہوئے تھے وہ تو یعنی موقع کی تلاش میں تھے، اور جیسے ہم نے دیکھا پاکستان میں تو اینٹی ٹیرر لا ہمیشہ استعمال ہوا ہے سیاسی مخالفین کے خلاف اور پرامن سیاسی کارکنوں کے خلاف استعمال ہوا۔ اسی طرح سے ہم نے دیکھا امریکہ میں یعنی انہوں نے گوئنٹنامو بے جیسی جیلیں بنائیں جس میں لوگ بغیر مقدموں کے جیل میں رہے وغیرہ، تو یہ بڑا سیٹ بیک تھا، اور ہم دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ یہ سیٹ بیک آگے چلا گیا ہے، اور ابھی جو اس وقت دنیا میں جنگیں ہو رہی ہیں ان کی وجہ سے بڑے سوالات پیدا ہوئے ہیں، لیکن اس کی طرف میں آخر میں آؤں گا۔ ابھی میں گزارش کرنا چاہتا ہوں کہ ہم پاکستان میں رہنے والوں کے لیے یہ بہت بڑی مشکل ہے، اس لیے کہ پاکستان بنتے ہی یہاں پہ جو بیوروکریسی تھی، جو نوآبادیاتی نظام کی باقیات میں سے تھی، فوج اور سول بیوروکریسی، انہوں نے coup d'etat کیے۔ 1954 میں انساج اسمبلی کو توڑا، 1958 میں ایوب خان کا مارشل لا آیا، 1969 میں یحییٰ خان کا مارشل لا آیا، 1971 میں جنگ ہوئی، اس لیے کہ بنگلہ دیش کو ایک طرح سے یہ لوگ حقوق دینے کے لیے تیار نہیں تھے۔ پاکستانی جرنیل شاہی اور جو حکمران طبقے تھے وہ بنگالیوں کا جمہوری حق تسلیم کرنے کے لیے تیار نہیں تھے، تو اس لیے اور یہاں بھی 1 یونٹ بنایا انہوں نے، چھوٹی صوبوں کے حقوق ختم کیے۔ پاکستان ایک طرح سے ایک بڑا جیل خانہ بن گیا جس میں انفرادی حقوق بھی نہیں تھے اور جس میں قوموں کے لیے بھی حقوق نہیں تھے، اور قوموں کے لیے بھی پاکستان ایک قید خانہ ثابت ہوا۔ تو اس بنگلہ دیش بننے کے بعد، بنگلہ دیش کے آزاد ہو جانے کے بعد یہ توقع تھی کہ کچھ سبق انہوں نے سیکھا ہوگا، لیکن وہ توقع غلط تھی کیونکہ انہوں نے کوئی سبق نہیں سیکھا۔ اور 1973 میں آئین بن تو گیا لیکن اس آئین کو حکمران طبقوں نے مانا نہیں ہے، خصوصاً جرنیل شاہی نے اس کو 1 منٹ کے لیے بھی نہیں مانا ہے۔ اور آپ نے دیکھا کہ 73 کے آئین کے بعد بھی 2 دفعہ مارشل لا آیا، یعنی جنرل ضیاء الحق کا مارشل لا جولائی 1977 میں، اور پھر جنرل مشرف کا مارشل لا 1999 میں، بلکہ جنرل مشرف نے تو 2 بار مارشل لا، 2007 میں دوبارہ اس نے مارشل لا نافذ کیا۔ بہرحال کہنے کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ اصل میں پاکستان میں ابھی ہم نے بہت جدوجہد کرنی ہے اور اپنے قومی حقوق اور انفرادی حقوق اور طبقاتی حقوق حاصل کرنے ہیں۔ اس کے لیے ظاہر ہے کہ یہ بڑا کٹر راستہ ہے، کیونکہ پاکستان کے حکمران طبقے جبر کے ذریعے حکمرانی کرتے ہیں، وہ قانون کے ذریعے حکمرانی کرنے کا ان کا کلچر نہیں ہے۔ آپ نے دیکھا کہ جیسے انہوں نے یعنی بلوچستان میں کتنے آپریشنز کیے، 1948 کا آپریشن، 1960 کی دہائی میں انہوں نے آپریشن کیا، 1973 کا آپریشن کیا، اور 1905 کے بعد تو ایک مسلسل آپریشن ہو رہا ہے۔ یہ وہی پاکستانی جرنیل ہیں جو افغانستان میں کہتے تھے کہ طالبان کے ساتھ مذاکرات ہونے چاہیے کیونکہ مسئلے کا فوجی حل نہیں ہے، لیکن بلوچستان میں وہ مذاکرات کی بات نہیں کرتے بلکہ فوجی حل مسلط کرنے پر تلے ہوئے ہیں۔ لیکن ظاہر ہے فوجی حل تو چلے گا نہیں کیونکہ مسئلہ سیاسی ہے، تو گزارش یہ ہے کہ اس کے لیے ہمیں اپنے انسانی حقوق کی دیکھ بھال کرنی ہوگی، اور خصوصاً یہ جو دوسرا जनरल मुशर्रफ के दौर से ऑपरेशन शुरू हुआ, इसकी बड़ी बात ये थी कि लोगों को उठाया जाने लगा। डिसअपीयर्ड लोगों का मसला बहुत बड़ा मसला है, जिसका हमने देखा कि यानी ये वैसे तो बलूचिस्तान में ये 1970 की दहाई में शुरू हुआ, और जो सरदार अताउल्लाह मैंगल के साहिबजादे थे असदुल्लाह मैंगल और उनके एक साथी को 1976 में उठाया गया, और लेकिन ये सिलसिला जारी रहा। बल्कि मैं ये भी कह सकता हूँ कि 1960 की दहाई में बांग्लादेश में भी लोगों को उठाया जाता था, जो मशरकी पाकिस्तान उस वक्त कहलाता था, वहां भी ये सिलसिला चला था और मुकदमे होते थे अदालतों में। तो ये लेकिन ये जनरल मुशर्रफ के बाद ये सिलसिला बहुत बढ़ गया, और इतना बढ़ गया कि ये एक नई तरह की जंग है जो हमारे अवाम के खिलाफ शुरू हुई है। इसमें मैं ये भी गुजारिश करना चाहूंगा कि पाकिस्तान में मजलूम कौम खुसूसन पश्तून और बलोच जो एक दूसरे के पड़ोस में रहते हैं और एक दूसरे के साथ उनकी सैकड़ों साल से एक अखुवत बिरादरी भी चली आई है, वो अपने अपनी सरजमीन पे रहते हैं, लेकिन एक दूसरे के साथ यकजहती और हमदर्दी का जज्बा रखते हैं कुदरती तौर पे। तो ये जो 1950 की दहाई में नेशनल अवामी पार्टी बनी थी, उसके अंदर दोनों ममालिक के दोनों सूबों के जो अवाम थे और खुसूसन कौम परस्त लोग थे, तरक्की पसंद लोग थे, वो एक प्लेटफार्म पर आ गए थे। पहले नेशनल पार्टी, जो बाद में 1954 में नेशनल पार्टी बनी, 1957 में नेशनल अवामी पार्टी बनी, और ये 1975 तक ये पार्टी काम करती रही। इस पर जनरल यहया खान ने पाबंदी लगाई थी 71 में, जो कुछ अर्से के बाद उठ गई थी, लेकिन 1975 में इसको मुस्तकिल तौर पर बंद कर दिया गया, और हैदराबाद जेल में एक गद्दारी का मुकदमा भी चला। तो गुजारिश ये है कि ये बदकिस्मती है कि उसके बाद फिर पश्तूनों और बलोचों की जो कौम परस्त तहरीकें हैं वो अलहदा प्लेटफार्म पर चली गई, उनके दरमियान कोऑर्डिनेशन और राब्ते में कमी आई, लेकिन अवाम में हमदर्दी अभी तक मौजूद है। हमने देखा है कि जब भी पश्तूनों में उभार हुआ, हमने देखा 2018 के बाद ये पश्तून तहफ़्फ़ुज़ मूवमेंट बनी, जो फौजी जबर वहां हुआ था, जो टेररिज्म के जरिए पश्तूनों को कत्लेआम हुआ। यानी टेररिज्म क्या है? देखें ना, ये जो टेररिज्म था अफगानिस्तान में लड़ाई के लिए, जो मगरबी ममालिक लड़ाई लड़ना चाहते थे, उसके लिए पाकिस्तान में उन्होंने टेररिज्म को बिठाया, और पाकिस्तानी जो जर्नैल शाही है उन्होंने लोकल कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स के तौर पे इसको बढ़ावा दिया, और इसके नतीजे में आपने देखा कि हजारों लोग मारे गए। उसके बाद जो फौजी ऑपरेशन हुए उसका निशाना भी पश्तून अवाम थे, इसलिए पश्तून अवाम में जबरदस्त उनके खिलाफ एक नफरत पैदा हो गई, और लोग उठे, और उससे पश्तून तहफ़्फ़ुज़ मूवमेंट ने जन्म लिया, नेशनल डेमोक्रेटिक मूवमेंट ने जन्म लिया, और तहरीकें लोकली हर जगह हर जिले में एक तहरीक बन गई है। लेकिन मैं आपको ये खुशखबरी सुना सकता हूँ कि पख्तूनख्वा में लोग इस बात को समझ गए हैं कि ये जो कुछ हो रहा है ये जिहाद नहीं है, फसाद है। इस बात को समझ गए हैं। दूसरे ये बात समझ गए हैं कि ये फसाद जर्नैल शाही यहाँ लाई है। तीसरे ये बात समझ गए हैं कि ये मगरबी ताकतों की जंग है, जिसको यहाँ के कमीशन एजेंट जो है यहाँ लड़ रहे हैं। तो इसलिए ये खुशी की बात है कि लोगों को ये बात समझ में आ गई है, और इसके खिलाफ मुजामत, सियासी मुजामत जारी है। लेकिन मैं ये अर्ज कर रहा था कि बड़ा मसला जो डिसअपीयर लोगों का है, ये बहुत बड़ा मसला है, और मुझे इसकी जरा गहराई का अंदाजा उस वक्त हुआ जब ये 2 साल पहले यहाँ पे इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने बलोच तुलबा के ग्रीवेंसेस या मुश्किलात के लिए एक कमीशन बनाया। सरदार अख्तर मैंगल उसके कन्वीनर थे, मैं भी उसका रुकन था, और उसके बहुत सारे अरकान थे, और हमने तकरीबन 5-6 महीने काम किया, और इस साल के शुरू में फरवरी में अपनी रिपोर्ट इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट में दाखिल की। लेकिन हमें बहुत करीब से देखने का मौका मिला, और उस रिपोर्ट पर अभी इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने मरकजी हुकूमत को नोटिस भी दिया है, और उसे कहा है कि ये क्यों लोग गायब हो रहे हैं। लेकिन मुश्किल ये है कि पाकिस्तान में असल हुकूमत जर्नैल शाही की है। अदालतें और पार्लियामेंट रबर स्टैंप्स हैं और दिखावे के लिए हैं, वो मौसर नहीं है, वरना ये तो बिल्कुल खुलेआम अगवागर्दी हो रही है। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान में और भी इंसानी हकूक़ के मसाइल हैं, मसलन ख़वातीन के भी बड़े मसाइल हैं। लेकिन मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि इस मुश्किल हालात में जो बलोच अवाम जदोजहद कर रहे हैं, उसमें हमारी बलोच बहनें, माएँ, वो बड़ी बहादुरी से निकली हैं। और मैं ये एतमाद के साथ कह सकता हूँ कि इस खिते में जो तहरीकें हैं, कौमी तहरीकें हैं, जमहूरी तहरीकें हैं, उसमें सबसे नुमायां तहरीक जो है वो बलोचों की तहरीक है, इसलिए कि जिस तरह से ख़वातीन बहादुरी से निकली हैं और ये जो गुमशुदगी के खिलाफ, जबरी गुमशुदगी के खिलाफ जदोजहद कर रही हैं, और जिस तरह से वो सामना कर रही हैं मुश्किलात का, मैं कह सकता हूँ कि ईरान के बाद जहाँ पे خواتین نے بہت بڑا انقلاب برپا کرنے کے لیے قدم اٹھایا ہے، اور افغانستان میں بھی خواتین جو ہیں وہ طالبان کے جبر اور ظلم کے خلاف میدان میں نکلی ہیں۔ ہمیں فخر ہے اپنی بلوچ ماؤں اور بہنوں پر جو بہادری سے اپنے سرزمین کی جدوجہد میں شریک ہوئی، اور ان کو کوئی شکست نہیں دے سکتا، مجھے یقین ہے۔ اور یہی خواتین کو شامل کیے بغیر کوئی قوم نہ قومی آزادی حاصل کر سکتی ہے، نہ اقتصادی ترقی کر سکتی ہے، نہ جمہوری نظام لا سکتی ہے۔ اس لیے ہمیں سب کا فرض ہے کہ ہم خواتین کو ان کے تمام حقوق دینے کے لیے ان کا ساتھ دیں، اور یہ صرف خواتین کا مسئلہ نہیں، یہ سب کا مسئلہ ہے۔ اگر ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ ہم ترقی پسند اور جمہوری قومیں بنائیں، اس کے لیے ہم سب کو ان کا ساتھ دینا چاہیے، مذہبی اقلیتوں کا ہمیں خیال رکھنا چاہیے، اور جہاں جہاں بھی لوگ پسے ہوئے طبقات ہیں، غریب لوگ ہیں۔ پاکستان میں ایک بہت بڑا اقتصادی بحران ہے، اور یہ بحران جو ہے یہ جرنیل شاہی کا پیدا کردہ بحران ہے، اور اس بحران کا سارا بوجھ مہنگائی اور بے روزگاری ایک کمر توڑ بوجھ جو ہے وہ غریب عوام پہ ڈال دیا گیا ہے۔ اس لیے ہمارا فرض ہے کہ ہم قومی تحریک اور طبقاتی تحریک کو جوڑیں، کیونکہ غریب عوام ہی اصل قوم ہیں، اور جو اوپر کے طبقات ہیں وہ تو قبضہ گیروں کے ساتھ ہمیشہ کولیبوریٹ بھی کرتے ہیں اور استحصال میں ان کا ساتھ دیتے ہیں۔ تو ہمیں جو استحصال کا شکار لوگ ہیں ان کا ساتھ دینا چاہیے، اور ساتھ میں جو قومی جبر ہے اس کے خلاف بھی ہمیں جدوجہد کرنی چاہیے۔ مجھے یقین ہے کہ ہماری جدوجہد جو ہے وہ انشاءاللہ آگے بڑھتی رہے گی، اور ہمارا ساتھ اور یکجہتی ایک دوسرے کے ساتھ جاری رہے گی۔ کہ یہ جو نام نہاد نگران حکومت ہے، یہ تو اس کی کیا حیثیت ہے؟ اس کو تو جرنیلوں نے
Thank you very much for patiently listening to Dr. Afsariab's speech. He was referring to many and other nations are facing. Those injustices, violations of human rights include the abduction of the people, include the not allowing them the way they want to live with dignity and peace, and the involvement of the Pakistani military in not only in Pakistan's political system, but also in every matter in that region. So to speak on the very same issue, which is obviously the violation which the Baloch people are facing in Balochistan for the last 7 decades. And today, as we know, it is the International Human Rights Day, a day that free world celebrates to make sure, to ensure that people are having their basic human rights. People are having the rights to free education. People are having the right to choose the way they want to live, as we see in today's civilized Western world. But the part of the world, the region which we come from, our people suffering, or people are living a totally different life. Let alone the way you want to live, it is impossible for us to live a happy and peaceful life. And that is because Balochistan is under a military subjugation. The Balochistan has no limits. In the last 3 weeks, as we have seen in Balochistan, in Turbat, the families, the mothers, sisters, fathers, brothers, family members of the abducted Baloch youth, elderlies, have been protesting, and then they started a long march that is moving towards Quetta, Shal, the capital of Balochistan, and with one hope only: to get justice, to get their human rights. Uh, we have a great journalist, author, who has written on many other topics, but also she has written a book on Balochistan, Francisca Marino. She has been a really great voice for the Baloch people. She has been writing articles, she has been speaking on many forums, and it is our honor that we are here today to talk on the International Human Rights Day on the issues of Balochistan.
Good morning. I was talking not so long ago with somebody who has been a dear guest of ISI dungeons in Balochistan for 12 years. The only reason why he's still alive, they did not kill him, it is because he is actually a Norway citizen. So, well, they thought twice before finishing. He was telling me what happened inside there. I will spare you the most, but one of the things was he was physically tortured for 6 months. Then they decided to upgrade his status, so was not torture physically anymore, but all the rest. Yes, the rest means being covered in lice and dirt, having no food, and above all, being kept in the dark so much and for so long that at the point I got worried because he was dying, and they called a doctor, and the doctor said it was actually lack of B vitamin because of the dark. So since then, they started to put him in the sun once a month, more or less, just not to let him die. He was telling me also he's still looking for the family of this woman, a lady who was tortured, and through the women, not only men are abducted, not only men disappear, women too, and more often in the past few years. This lady had been, of course, before and while was raped, was beaten up. Is a common thing. It happened to many women, taken in the street with their children, taken in the street and used by the Pakistani army as commodities. Sometimes they are killed, sometimes they are not. But this is what happened. Children are killed. I remember years ago, it was, his name was Chakar, and he was 10, found dead with sign of torture, thrown in the street. his crime being the little brother of somebody who had already disappeared. This is what happens. This is what happens, and it's happening much more. Like you all know, there are mass graves. There are private prisons, death squads, proxy of the army that use private prison where they keep their own prisoners. Death squads, of course, are bordering, the border is very thin with ordinary criminality, but of course they get along with it so much that they are candidates for elections too. And your current caretaker prime minister was photographed more than once sitting with the most famous of death squad chiefs, Shafiq Mengal. So what always struck me is that what's happening in Balochistan is not only a systematic violations of human rights, kill and dump, enforced disappearing, rape by the army, children. You mentioned one. It happens in Balochistan. What always strikes me is that there's nobody outside Pakistan or India, outside South Asia, who would talk about it, even though it's horrendous what happens, and there are plenty of proofs. But UN, first of all, international observers are not allowed. Second thing, UN has its own very I don't know what to say, I don't want to use a bad word, his own procedures. According to his own procedures, to have real proofs, it's so ridiculous that actually only a democratic country would give that kind of access and proofs, because a non-democratic country and the countries doing this to their own citizens are not democratic countries. They won't give that kind of access and that kind of data. The other thing is, even though Baloch ticks all the boxes in terms of genocide, human rights violations, ethnic cleansing, and again, mention one, it happens, it does not tick some of the boxes that make the so-called Western audience, and again, there's nothing calling the West, but just to understand each other, it does not tick what make Western audience mind resonate. And it's always been like this since 70s. I wrote a book on Pakistan with an elder colleague, and Benjamin Natale during 70s was working for an extreme left newspaper, Il Manifesto, and he was telling me that somebody, he does not remember the name, I'm almost sure I figured out who he was, arrived in the office, in the newspaper office, telling the story of Balochistan and asking for support. Benjamin wrote 1-2 pieces, but no, nobody was really picking up the issue. And the point is, okay, the point is, I know it's not nice to say it in the current context, but it's better to be frank. I mean, at least you understand will you stand? There's no white oppressor. Since the oppressor is Pakistan, and Pakistan always had a privileged relationship with Americans and with the West, there's the ultimate argument to Americans recur to when you talk to Pakistan. Well, what you want from us, they have the bomb. This is the ultimate thing. So you cannot touch Pakistan because they have the bomb. So whatever Pakistan does, until it does not cross too much other interests, it's fine. The other thing is, it is an internal issue. So you say, okay, do you mean, so if it is an internal issue, every country is allowed to kill with impunity their own citizens like this, and the rest of the world should stay silent? The official answers are, yeah, but the non-official answer is yes, Russia is authorized to do it. And nobody says anything. Imagine for Baloch. The other thing is, I was ready today to explain the issue. And there would be a very strong legal case to raise against Pakistan, because Kalat, when it was annexed, it was a constitutional monarchy. Leave alone the long argument whether the Khan signed with a gun here or by his own will or he had a dream. Leave this alone. At the end of the day, it does not matter, because he had no legal power to sign that annexion, because being a constitutional monarchy, every decision, that decision in particular, should have been endorsed by the parliament. The parliament refused twice. Then it was dissolved. So there's also a very strong legal case. But again, nobody cares. The reason also because nobody cares is that they don't know. I was ready, as I said, to explain all these issues and all what Pakistani army and their proxies are doing to Baloch. And in the past few years, more and more, not only to Baloch, but to half of the population, because even Pashtun disappeared, Sindhi disappeared. So, but again, using a very politically incorrect term, I did not see another white face here except mine. We don't need to tell what happens to ourselves. We need to raise awareness with Europeans, with Americans, not being locked into a room. Otherwise, this issue will never, ever get out of the borders of Pakistan. People will never march for Baloch. Even if we show all the horrible things, and as I said, there are so many proofs. But who knows? Who knows? You need to be in the street, not here, to talk to people, to explain people what's happening and why, as I go on saying, Baloch lives matter.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a very great points. Actually, we need to reflect on this. We need to talk to more people than just ourselves, to tell them what is happening in Balochistan and why it's actually happening and what is our struggle is all about. Thank you very much once again. To continue with the whole program, I would now like to ask one of our another distinguished guest and the keynote speaker, who is obviously being a great critic of the Pakistani army. He has written about their involvement in everything that moves in Pakistan. The military has control over it. He has been very vocal supporter for the oppressed people. We know her for quite a good few time now. She's a great friend, a great support, I would say. Obviously, among other things, she is one of the most senior political scientists in Pakistan and an author. So I'd like Dr. Asha Siddiqa to please come and share.
Thank you so much. Truly grateful to BNM to invite me again this year. You know, this year when I got the invitation to come and speak here, I thought to myself, I said, do I even have the right to say anything? Because it's you people who have lost your loved ones. Brothers, fathers, uncles, very close relations. Who is better? Who is in a better position to speak about that anguish, about that sorrow, about what the state of Pakistan does to the Baloch people and anyone who stands up for right. Let me tell you that I come here. I am from Pakistan, but I come here as a Baloch because I feel that Baloch has now become a category in itself. Anyone who stands up and speaks for their right, anyone who's deprived of their rights. I mean, I'll tell you, I live in exile as well, not because I want to live outside, away from my family, like many of you who are here in this room. This is also a forced disappearance. Disappearance from your land. Disappearance from being close to your loved ones. So we are also part of the forcibly disappeared. And I feel that from that point of view, I mean, besides the point that I also have Baloch blood in me, my grandmother was a Baloch, I feel that politically, I fall into the category where I consider myself a Baloch. You know, the first time I really got exposed to the Baloch issue was in 2014. 2014, when Mama Qadir did his first long march from Quetta to Islamabad. I'm not a political activist, I'm just a writer. I've written 2 books, I write about the military, I write about geostrategy, geopolitics. And I've never been an activist. I mean, I don't go, you won't find me normally out testing. But I remember that year, I decided to come out, decided to go to Pindi to receive Mama Qadir. And my intention was very simple. You may not politically agree with my intention, right? My intention was that, look, as member of the civil society of Pakistan, if today I sit home, I have no right to convince these people to remain living with me in Pakistan. I have to get out. State can be cruel, but I can't be party to that cruelty. And I have to tell those people, were coming, marching all the way, walking all the way from Quetta, from Balochistan, that look, I stand with you. And that was the year I went. And I still remember it was comical because you had, for all these, 30, 40 odd people would march all their way, and a crowd of a few hundred and few thousands. There were so many ISI cameramen. They were making videos, they were taking photographs, as if talking about peace was a sin. Later on, I kind of I came abroad, and then I saw how after 2014 shutters started to come down. 2015 was when Lahore University of Management Sciences tried to hold a seminar on Balochistan. They were stopped. And the one person who was brave enough to organize the seminar in Karachi was then shot dead, Sabine Mahmood. And I met Sabine. She had invited me when my book Military Incorporated came out in 2007. She didn't have any deep politics. The only thing she believed in was let people talk. Let people cry, let people engage in a conversation. She wanted the conversation about Balochistan to happen in Karachi. Now, since then, in 2015, honestly, I remember 2015 changed a lot in Pakistan. Dramatically, it silenced people. There was a cloud of silence which set in. The young speaker, Alia, the first one who spoke. I remember I noticed, she said, these atrocities are by Pakistan. No, it's by the Pakistani state. Let there be a difference. I mean, there are people, ordinary people who live very ordinary lives can also be very scared by the state. But people in Pakistan, the rest of Pakistan, outside Balochistan, used to speak about Balochistan until people began to get killed for taking the name of Balochistan. 2015 was dramatic, and I believe that the actual policy shift had started happening before. I mean, it started to happen between 2012 and 13, when the military decided that it's going to clamp down, it's going to use an iron fist, an iron hand to stop, people raising voices. And so, consistently, there has been increase in people disappearing. There have been, more cases of people getting picked up. There have been more cases of extrajudicial, what I call extrajudicial murders. And the silencing. I mean, I remember I used to have a weekly column in Express Tribune in Pakistan. And every time, and it began to happen after 2014-15, that every time I used the word Balochistan, it would be edited out. One of Pakistan's provinces. I mean, what is this ghost province that we are talking about? So that force is something which is imposed on people, and they have consistently done so. Again, going back to 2014 when I came out to receive Mama Khatib, my wish was to tell these people, the Baloch would march all the way, that look, I feel for you. I'm not such a bad person, we can continue to live. Today, I have nothing to tell you. I mean, I come to this hall, with my head bowed in shame that, we've been unable to stop as people, we've been unable to stop what the state continues to do to the people in Balochistan and also in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And now it has begun to happen. It's absolutely scary. I mean, yesterday, there's a great Sindhi playwright who's visiting, by the way, Amsterdam. Yesterday we were sitting and she said, "Why are you here?" I said, "I'm here to speak at a seminar in the Balochistan." And she sighed. She said, "We have not done good to them. What can we tell them?" I have nothing to say, actually, except that I stand with you. I stand with you. I feel your pain. I'll cry with you. And I'll stand up with you and for you. There is a legal way, and this is something, Iman Hazan Bazari also, lives in Pakistan. There are people, and there are people who are continuing, and I'm glad there are people like her who are continuing to fight, to raise their voice. Now, all that is being said is that, look, if you have evidence against these people, then there are courts of laws in that country. It's supposedly a civilized country with laws, with judiciary, with judges. Why don't you bring the accused in front of the people, in front of the courts? Use the legal system. But what has happened over years is that Pakistan is not one state, it's two states. There is a state where ordinary people live, and there is a state which belongs to the military and to the ruling elite. They don't care. If you think they don't care about you, they don't care for me either. What they want is their power. And therefore, while I can see and understand and really understand, it's not easy. It's not easy for people to take their own lives. When young women have also begun in Balochistan to take their own lives and become suicide bombers. It's something which the state should think about. Giving up your life is not easy. It's so much of pain that must have come together to move these women to do that. And even move those men who do it to do that. Now, but the state doesn't understand. And what has happened is, I don't want to make a very long speech, but let me make, at least 3 points. First is what is happening politically in Pakistan. As somebody who is looking and planning a movement sitting outside Pakistan, or as people who are protesting for their rights, I think it's important to understand also that the brutal face of the establishment may have become more exposed, but has become more brutal. It is hardened. This Prime Minister, caretaker Prime Minister of Pakistan, who happens to be from Balochistan, I've known him since 1996. So 2011, I get a call soon after he had done his course at the National Defense University. So I get a call from him. So he tells me, he says, I've called you, doctor, I've called you to tell you that I believe now that civil-military relations in Pakistan is standing on its head. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, because today I'm more afraid of the Baloch nationalists than of the military. I said, wow, wonderful. I said, but it still doesn't prove that civil-military relations is standing on its head. I said, I believe that you should go and read not too long a history. Go and read what happened in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. I said, states force people towards violence. And if today you're scared of Baloch nationalists, it's not because of those people, it's because of what the state does there. And then, I've seen him grow and grow to a point where, yesterday, in fact, I read the statement by him that we have a final decision has to be taken, that it's the state which has the right to use, violence. Yeah, this is theoretically what states are about. This is what the literature on states says, that state alone has the right to use violence. But we're talking about a state, but that also means a number of things. It means that the state should have structures where, justice is done, where people are not needlessly, unjustly punished. The state in Pakistan has collapsed that way. It has no institutions there. Secondly, are we talking about, what state is he talking about? Anwar Kakar, what state is he talking about? Is he talking about a state which for years, since the 1980s, for the Americans, for this one, for that one, for somebody, for themselves, has actually used, it has outsourced violence to non-state actors. It brought non-state actors, violent non-state actors to Balochistan. It has brought violent non-state actors even to Sindh, to South Punjab, to Saraiki Vaseb, where I come from. So, what is he talking about? But what he is saying is actually the face of the state. That it's not ashamed of what it's doing, not at all. And this is what it wants to do. It wants to use more force. So politically, if you believe that, or if there is any idea that because it's economically depressed, it's going to change its behavior. I thought so too. Sometimes I also have these hallucinations that maybe, this is the moment Pakistan will change. Rest of Pakistan may be changing, but the establishment hasn't, and it won't. It has become more hard. The only difference, I'll tell you, which has come, is that today's establishment is less ashamed of indulging in illegitimate, violent behavior. It's not going to stop. This military at once upon a time used to be careful not to get unpopular, amongst people. Now it doesn't care. What it's doing with Imran Khan. I'm not an Imran Khan supporter, but I am against that kind of action being taken against any political party or any political leader. So they used him, they've dumped him, ready to kill him, move on, kill him politically. So this is a state which is much more anxious to use its force. One. Geopolitically, I think you also need to understand. I want to talk about where things stand. We are just seeing violence in the Middle East, and that violence has taken away a lot of attention. It has also diluted the way states are going to internationally look at violence of the state against people. In Pakistan's case, geopolitically, violence is going to be more of a tool because for its economic strategy, it is now planning to bring United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia to Pakistan to invest, including in Balochistan, which means that these are states who don't care about what happens. They don't care about, uh, you know, they don't care what happens to the Baloch, whether Baloch are going to make them, if it's hurting their interest. All they want is they look at the territory as investment. So geopolitically, all these changes are happening, which means my last point. Sorry for taking so long. My last point. I think it's important for you who are sitting here who can at least breathe, who do not at least have the sword hanging on their heads, that they're going to get picked up, they're going to get shot, they're going to get killed, disposed of, terrorized. You don't have that immediate fear. At least you can take that time to make a strategy. And I would second what Francesca Marino said. It's nice to get Baloch, lots of Baloch in one room, but you need to get more audience. I think something, just one final point. About 5 years, 4 years ago, I happened to go to there was a literature festival in Hay By in England. It's a week-long literature festival, great, writers, books, etc., etc. And I remember I walked into a hall where Ilan Pape was talking about Palestine, about the biggest jail in the world. And what surprised me, what I found very exciting was hundreds of people sitting there silently and listening. There are many reasons why the West is kind of more programmed to listen about Middle East and not about you, not about, people like us. But that's the important thing. That is an attention that you need to draw. That's the audience. I remember some friends of mine, it was Sabine Mahmood's anniversary. I think it was her 3rd or 4th anniversary. And that anniversary, I was in England, we decided instead of going and protesting outside Downing Street or in front of Pakistan High Commission, we decided to draw her face, write what her ideology was, what she died for, in Trafalgar Square. And people came. People were curious. People were anxious. People were anxious to know. Sad to say, but for your voice to grow, for your voice to be heard in the world, for people to notice that something really bad is happening to people in Balochistan, I think you have to market your tears, your fears well. I leave you with this thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saiba, for your great words and your ideas. So, as Dr. Saiba was explaining, she touched many points, and believe me, you have the right to talk for us because we want more people to understand our pain, and we want solidarity from each and everyone among the globe. So thank you very much for being part of this seminar and supportive voice for Balochistan. Balochistan obviously have faced 5 military operations. Thousands have been killed thousands others have been abducted. Hundreds of thousands have been forced to leave their native town and migrate other parts of Balochistan or in other parts of Pakistan itself, or to walk towards or to migrate towards Sistan, Balochistan, or some who might say feel lucky about themselves like us, they have been forced to live in exile. Obviously, exile also means, as Dr. Saiba says, it's kind of an abduction, a forceful decision upon yourself to leave your family, to leave your friends, to leave your land, above all, to leave your identity behind, because you're just another person here. To continue with the day and to call our last speaker and the president of the SEM2 to say a few words about today. We have BNM's chairperson, Dr. Naseem Baloch. Dr. Naseem himself is a tortured survivor. He has been abducted twice. He faced the worst torture one can endure in Pakistani torture cells. The torture might have taken something away from him, but one thing that torture could not take, that is his identity, his resilience, his strength, or his idea for his struggle. So I would like to call Dr. Naseem Baloch to please come and conclude this ceremony.
Thank you, everyone. I express my gratitude to all my speakers and the participants here, especially Dr. Aisha, who has come from very far, Francisca Marino, who has come from very far, and obviously Neil Blumes. He is here. He is the lawyer. He deals the cases of the asylum seekers here in Netherlands. I am very thankful to him for joining us. Thanks. As in the end of our speech, Dr. Aisha was talking about Palestine. I want to start my today's talk with Baluchi verses by late Mubarak Qazi, who says, "Jo nahe pulle Palestine mana gamper nahe, jo nahe pulle Palestine mana gamper nahe, mabale hanu bati de hai gama chero saram." It says, "It is not that I do not feel the pain of Palestine, but at the moment I am surrounded by sorrows of my own country." With the same, I urge reflection on why we hesitate to celebrate the bravery of our young ones in the Baloch movement, while a Palestinian child facing Israeli tanks is hailed a hero. Yet we struggle to recognize a Baloch youngster's courage. Figures, especially we were tracking of the females in today's speech, also Francisca and Dr. Aisha talked about the females and their struggle in Balochistan and here in diaspora too. Figures like Sami Mehla, who are daughters of the forcibly disappeared Dr. Timo, Dr. Maharang, Dr. Sabia, Dr. Shali, Bibo, Saira, and others who deserve global acknowledgement, for they will become significant in Baloch history. Another name, Seema, a great figure in this struggle. Now she stands for Baloch missing persons, yet the world remains silent. Females now targets, but they are playing their vital role. As we write history, let me familiarize ourselves with countless unsung heroes emerging. In the face of these ongoing atrocities, it is imperative for the international community to recognize the gravity of the situation of Balochistan. The ruthless policies pursued by the Pakistani military not only violate the fundamental rights of the Baloch people, but also pose a threat to the regional stability. While the world may currently be unaware of our people and our movement, I fear that recognition delayed is justice denied. Balochistan's struggle is a proof to the resilience of a people determined to assert their rights in the face of adversity. The brave individuals like Seema and the young heroes, as I mentioned earlier, they symbolize the unbeatable spirit of a population striving for justice and freedom. In recent years, Pakistan has adopted a brutal policy of fake encounters. As we were talking earlier, and we had seen some scenes in the video which was played here. It is resulting in the death. It has resulted in the death of dozens of Baloch individuals. One such recent case is that of Baloch from Turbat. He was detained by the army on October 29th and later presented to a court on about November 20th. But Baloch, along with 3 other forcibly disappeared persons, were found dead on the night of 22nd and 23rd. They were handed over to the hospital administration. Baloch's family, devastated by this blatant injustice, refused to bury their loved one. They initiated a sit-in protest in Turbat, demanding justice and the registration of a case against the perpetrators, notably the Pakistani army, we say. Although after 8 days, they buried Baloch, their demand for justice persisted, and the protest turned into a long march from Turbat to Quetta, insisting on the registration of the case. As we gather here today, let us not forget the power of information and the role of media in shaping public opinion. The controlled narrative imposed by certain forces prevents the truth from reaching the wider world. I skipped some points due to shortage of time. But today, as we observe International Human Rights Day, it is our duty and the world community's duty to raise voice against these gross human rights violations and put an end to the culture of impunity that allows such atrocities to persist. Human rights are universal, requiring our commitment, especially from the global community, to ensure justice for every individual, regardless of their location, geography, ethnicity, and nationality. I thank you, all of us, once again, and the speakers. If we have some time left, with your permission, I want to share some words in Baluchi, and I will take benefit of the gathering. Thanks. एक बार मैंने तुम्हारा शोध दोस्तानी पता कि ओ नेदरलैंड चैप्टर है कि आई ओरे बलाय जवानी मुच्छी अर्दाता आलता है दायरा चैप्टर है काबीना आई हर्ष मेंबर है मैंने तो कोशिश पद ये चीज मुमकिन होता और ये एक साले इंस्टेपे ये जरूर मैं कर फर्ज कारानी तक कहते कि मैं शे एक्टिविटी ये अर्बदे एक मरागशी अर्बदे क्या इता यूरे गप भी यूरे मेहमान भी आया क्या बलूच ना दरामद पर मनीती दर्दा मनीती तकलीफा पे मंगाया समझेगा ये शारे गप्पी ये गप हमें चीज़ा पद्धरकंद के तिंतवार अश्ती जिंद सरकला अश्ती जिंद मेटगा अश्ती जिंद टेहा दर्शुदा कमु डरनाशुदा ये पॉजिटिव पॉइंट हम तरीका इतना ये स्टेप हिसाब पर जो डॉक्टर आयशा होती चीज़ तो उसने हमारा ये चीज़ हमका एक्सप्लोर करने की देवा बरेगी हमें दर्द के दुनिया ता या बलूची तमाम मिसाल किंदा होन बहा मर्दमे मसले जेड़े भी थे मर्दों जेड़े भी यार होन बहा दे डॉक्टर आयशा शारे मिसाले दे रहे नोती फियर एंड टीयर अच्छो एक्सप्लोर करना चीज़ा चूं बहा कर गुदुरिया इमोशंस ना गुदुरिया मसला हमारा शुक्र है इंचो बात दर्द इंचो तकलीफ इंचो अर्स गोने अगर इशारी वाकई हमें उन्हें कीमतें जनक बीबी बुरा दुनिया के रा बल्कि आई कीमत अदा करने गुंजाइश मबी बल्कि दुनिया की कीमत अदा कुछ मकाम भले हमारा शुक्र ये एक मायूसी एक गप्पे नहीं ये दुनिया ता स्ट्रगलानी मूवमेंट आनी हिस्सा बुतगा के मर्दम जनक बुतगा गैरक बुतगा बरक बुतगा द्राजकश बुतगा तो जो भले आओ ये बुता कि जो दिलन न जाता जो दे मुसलसल फलसफे सरा के कारा बुतगा कुड़ा वो दे मश्ता वो दूर बुता मैं शुमे इदानिंद एक डायस्पोरा है धर्मुल की दरांडी ये जिंदगी ये फैसला करना एक माशुमा दुरुस्त सरपंच बन चुकी है जिंदगी गुजर गया मजाने एक सक्का ग्रानी फैसले मार्चा तो मुल्क का सरजमीना डगार यक दे गए सियादवार से यल दे गए हमारे लोग हमारा जमीन सरा तो पैदा बूत गए तो आ रहे यल दे गए हमारे लोग खेश को दरो दीवार तर अंचो यक का यातम के चोर तो दिस्ता दी देवा बंदर बूता ये चो जोड़ कर बूता ये लोग अच्छे एक मेथगे जोड़ बूता थी हमसा कशुगर से आदवार इस निंदु बूतगा दुरुस्त बनी थी चमाइन देवा ये जोड़ बूतगा तो इसे यल दे गए बिल्कुल तो इसे डेरे ने को दौड़ दे गए इस अक्का ग्रानी फैसले चीज़ां जोड़ कर को डेरे ने को दौड़ दे ये फैसला दुर्ता इधर निश्चित के माशुमा कुड़ा महेश्वर दुनिया हमें उम्मीद का हमें उम्मीद करना महेश्वर जान तो इंसानी जान तभी किसी के महेश्वर मारिश महेश्वर कमिटमेंट सरा यानी कसी शक न भी महेश्वर मारिश आदि मर्दमान चे गेस्टर बिबो महेश्वर मारिश मुल्का निश्चित मर्दों के सक्का निश्चित तकलीफ आया भले मुल्क था निश्चित मन तो मुल्क था ना मनीति मारिश चिदो गिश्ते बिबम बांधा मना तरह कसी ये शिकायत ना मजब की शंबोल किया जाता जनी मारिश मुर्तगम हमें मारेश कैसे तरह मजबूर कर के तो ती वो हम बाहर कार तो ती कारा पे के नहीं देमा बोलो ये मारिश तार जिंदगीदारी की तरह होती जिन जिंदगीदारी की गो होती जिंदगी तरह मारिश जिंदगीदारी की अदरवाइज माशुमा दुनिया लक्का करोड़ा अरबा आबादी का क्या था बेमारिश था जिंदगी मर्दुमस्ता हुश्की सहदारी महाराज हमारा हुश्की सहदारी वो नरोटी अदा मैं तालो को छोड़े राजे छोड़े दे हैं आधा ये डिमांड ये लोड गेस्टर बीते कि यकी तो बजले यकी तो दराने है एक तरह की मारिश दस्ते दुमिति लोग पोलग बूता ती राज पोलग बूता तर मुल्क के बूता आप पोलग बूता तो एक जुबान या लिखिता वांता ऐसा पाबंदी ये दोस्ती चीज बातें मारा शुमारा हंचू मौजूद देना कि मैं मारा शुमारा एक साथे जमीना पर आरामा निंदगा मैं कि मना ये स्ट्रगल करेगी ये स्ट्रगल देना भरेगी मना यकरोची मोलका होगी खाली दस्तर होगी नहीं आखिर मैं सुबह जागा हमारे देखो या वो मैं सुबह पार्टी भी नहीं थी बीएनएम फैसला बिटन के बीएनएम में दुरुस्त मेंबराना वापस मोलका होगी उड़ा मैं सुबह कमिटमेंट बीबी के बारश में होगी या हमारे में अच्छी स्ट्रगल जो ठिकाना के बाशवाद आचे एला बीबी के बलूचिस्तान पता है कि डे ठहरता आजाद होता और बाशवा पता लड्डू बात वगैरह हो गए हमारे लोग हमारे जाकर हम के मिसाल था कि हिस्सानी ये फिर गामन तो दिस्ता था कि तचत्ता सरबूता पता मन तो डेरिंग था मन तो पता हो गए हमारे लोग हैं हमारे पाने बंदगा ये क्या करने की कोशिश हमें कार वास्तव माशु महिला दरान थे अगर ना मानो बालाची के संचु आले पुत्र घुसते मर्दों घुसते संगतान बेरास्ते दुश्मन है तरकता गपचत अगर ना हमरो आदा यके बालाच जोड़ गए थे बालाचे बड़ा जनक भी थे बालाचे हिस्ट्री हम हस्ते के बालाच गोरगी जावेगे शहीद बालाच मर जावेगे तमर्ची बालाचा बलूच राज संत नमुता हमरो बालाचे पैदा करता भले ये बालाचा ना माशो जो आसानिया जनगो मेरेगो खुशगा मैलम या कंची तवारे ये बालाच एक रिजल्ट किया करो ये हमरो जनक मवी ये की चौके ये की रात है बाद एक की लोगों आ जाए खुशी ये की पेते ये मास मुद्रस्त हमें जागृत था हमें वर्तमान को निश्चित वो चिची फील भी मर्दों बराते जनक भी शहीद भी बेगवा भी जनक भी शहीद भी बेगवा भी गुआरे बेगवा भी चुपकी बेगवा भी ची फीलिंग्स दो हमारा स्टेजा माशुआ वतरा फिक्रना नो चीज़ बेचारा वैसे तो मकसद इसी की इसी वस्ता वाला शोरा इदारे की हमरो बड़ा बालाच खुशानी की ना हमरो ये मिसाल जोड़ कर की ना के बालाच जनक बूता दिल बालाच पैदा होता बस बालाच जनक बूता नो बालाचे होने बदल गिरेगी ये नौबत में कि बाला करा कोर्टा पेश हम का कोर्टा की मिसाला देगा क्योंकि फायदा जुलेगी इमाम मजारी की सानी के पायत आ इमाम मजारी मा फील्ड कारण आ बिल्ले कोर्टा रहो आ कोर्टा मन्नी बालाचे फैमिली कोर्टा मन्नी पाकिस्तान सिस्टम मन्नी रहो बिल्ले जस्टिस इंसाफ रसीते न रसीते मैश में फैसला मंजिल दिगरी मौजूदा कि ताकि माशो आजादी लगता येशी कोर्ट येशी असेंबली येशी पार्लियामेंट येशी एच अदारे मैशो ना कारा कैद नशो कारा कम ये यक बालाचे कोर्टा रहो पता गिरे को जने कुशन की यक मिसाले नहीं भले बना ही मिसाले पर कि मैं शुभेच्छा मान दे बाबूता पर कि माशुला ये चीज दिसता माशुला कमिटमेंट एक करता है निष्ठा मास्टर की बदला गिरा अदरवाइज आज बालाचा लगते रोज सारी यक कार गाड़ी था सही वरना क्या उन केस रिपोर्ट होते हैं बलूचिस्तान सरकार के लोग की ह्यूमन राइट्स से जो अक्रामदार और विचार के दिल जागा ग्रुप पंता जाता हमारा वेबसाइट हमारा चीज के एडिट नवम ये प्रूफ है ये कि ये मर्दों ये रुचा बेवा बुता आरा गुल वेदक दिया या बम्बे बंदी थे गाड़ी ट्राकी दी थे क्या छोटे छोटे दाने नवम ये चीज ये हमारा मर्दों में हमारा कार करो के वो बलूचा नफरत है इज़हार बड़ी बड़ी मर्दों जज्बाती भी को संगतिया मर्दों या ज़हर बीते बलूचियों से बड़ी चम्मा कर पाते जब तो ती शिकला में मांगी थी गोमा इसी अच्छे नफरत शुरू करता क्या ही बनती शिकला मांगी थी मतलब दिस्तों तरफ बम्बे को ट्राकी में और चुकी तरफ बाल गया वो बम्बा ट्राकी ये ड्रेच ये जोल इशान सिलसिला हमारे उच्च बंद बीते कि हमारे उच्च मन तो पता होती है मालिक बा हमारे उच्च हम वाको इख्तियार मनीति होती दस्तावेज़ ये हमारे उच्च मुमकिन है अदरवाइज हंचा निंदा गो चारा गो वाप गिंदगा शीशा नवम गप इदाता राजदराजी गप मन करेगा पम्मनो सक आसानी में खेला देख की करते सक आसान है भले हमारा गप्पा कट गया है उती राजी आ तरा गो कमिटमेंट का अमली तो रा एक गप्पा पात पोस्ट बांधे गो बिहार के लिए नहीं एक बलान प्रोग्राम में मर्ची नेदरलैंड चैप्टर वो नेदरलैंड चैप्टर मर्दों वो मर्दों जब तक दो माह मावे बलान कार्य को नो माह दो माह इसी कार ने ना ये महेश में हमारे उची कार्य होता बिल तरांडे में इधे जिंदगी मशहूर जिंदगी ग्रामीण जिंदगी फैमिलियां चौक रोजगार है स्कूल कार है भले यक ये दूसरी चीज़ां ख्यालदारी भले यक वक्त हालाता यक अपॉर्चुनिटी है यक मौके बना कर दाता कि मन तो जाए होती राजा वस्ता होती किरता पीले बिकना गुड़ांग हमारा कार रोजगार कनेगिया फैमिली कर देगी भले रांदा की तारीख लिख बुगा भी इधर निश्चित के मर्दों तारीख लिख का है बांदा कैसे मनीति नाम दे भाई मलिकी की ये हमें दौलता जिंदगी बुता और फिलहाल ये ओरा निश्चित चाहते हैं फिलहाल ये ओरा लाश चाहता मचुआ हमें वो लिख करना हमें कमिटमेंट रखना कि तारीख और चल लिख भी और तो मनीति नाम गुशर ने अल्फाज लिख भी गुशर नाम या लिख भी इधर दुनिया था हजार लक्का मर्दुम पैदा है बंतु मेरा नाम हमारी लिख भी नाम हमारी पश्त कपी के आ नाम गो किरदार जोड़ करना अकिरद जोड़ करना किरद पश्त कपी फला किरद हमारी चीजें की इश्वस्ता तरह ताना वो दी कमिटमेंट लोटी जोड़ कर लोटी किरद सरा तरह एक जगह नलोटी किरद सरा तरह जल खर्च करने नलोटी किरद तरह बहागिर का नरसी किरद बस बोलती जिंदे ताह मारिश्ता है अब मारिश्ता सरकार करेंगे एक बेखर्चा बेजरूरत एक चीज़ रसिया नाम के रहते आतर किसी दो ले आता अश्ती मेरे गा पत्रा जिंदा करते मैं शहीद अपना तवशल जिंदगा काउन किरदे बुता आगो किरता जिंदगी बुता अदरवाइज हर किसी मर्दों शुतगा हर किसी मर्दों जानक बुत या नबुतगा तेरे मसले इताद मुतगा शुतगा मैं शायद वाज मुतगा ये एक नेचुरल हमारी हर किस्म की जिंदगी मेरी पांडम मेरी दोस्त मर्दों मेरा भले मेरे गापात किसी की पश्त कभी अगुड़ कारा उठता और नामा पश्त कभी पता मेरे ऊपर फिक्री की मारा शुमारा अगर वक्त मौका दाता हमें हालात मौका दाता मत तो कुदरती तौरा हंची कुबात या पैदा बुतों की आवाज़ बलोच जंगीता है बलोच सरजमी जुबान दो दो रबे तक यक खाते दस्ता वनकज खरगो खत्म हुए जो ती भूगल मन तो हमार जमाने का पैदा हुआ और मन तो हमार जमाने की लोटा नहीं मुताबिक हमें दुरुस्ती चीज़ां के खिलाफ बोश्तर हमें दुरुस्ती चीज़ां के खिलाफ गप बिजना हमें दुरुस्ती चीज़ां की तार का जोत बिकना उड़ा मुशक की मर वाकई वक्त मुकदा था और वक्त बोका ची फायदा दुखता दुरुस्ती रानी एक बारी पता मिलना तो
Thank you very much, Dr. Naseem. So after Dr. Naseem's speech, we will be ending our today's seminar as we are already out of time. So I would like to thank you all, especially the colleagues of Baloch National Movement Netherlands chapter who has arranged this great seminar here, all the participants who have joined us, and our distinguished speakers who have taken time and come here from different parts of the world. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Long live the resistance. We wish to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.